Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Drew Carrick. Known in the accounting and finance world as Petty Cash, Drew Carrick took his passion for content development and rapping into the professional thought leadership and social media influencer world by forming the Rapping CPA brand in 2015. After earning his accounting degree and subsequently his MBA with a concentration in marketing, Drew completed the CPA exam in New York and continued his 5-year public accounting career at Grant Thornton, while building his street credibility as an industry influencer, thought leader, financial and strategic analysis whiz, and millennial expert. Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, Drew Carrick.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, quite the introduction there.
Well, you're most welcome. Well, first off, Drew, why do you do what you do?
Well, it's funny. The way that the Rapping CPA even came about was because I had already been this entertainment sort of figure. So going into college, I was already making songs, and a lot of it was college and frat rap sort of based. And of course, when I entered the accounting profession, the content sort of evolved into making accounting songs. And so the public accounting anthem is what really put me on the map in 2015, and I was a big Fetty Wap fan at the time. So Petty Cash immediately became my stage name, and then I became Petty Cash, the Rapping CPA. And one of the reasons is that there's this stereotype around accountants being boring, being just kind of squares. They're very black and white. And I'll admit, a lot of colleagues that I worked with in public accounting do fall into that stereotype, but it's not everybody. And it's important for people to evolve their skills into a more well-rounded professional. And I wanted to sort of be like, it's okay to be a little goofy. It's okay to be a little weird. One of the big influencers, the recovering CPA, John Garrett, who many in the accounting industry know, he was one of the first sort of people that sort of created this door into shattering stereotypes. And so I sort of fully embraced that and decided, the accounting profession needs more entertaining and more fun content. And so I'm working on a project now called Evolve Now, which is purposed with bringing accounting content into the future. Namely through videos and just being a more entertaining and engaging way to present accounting content.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. So tell me about your work with Evolve Now.
So as you know, I've been making a lot of accounting music videos and rap videos, and then I started to dive into the thought leadership realm. So it's writing some articles and then doing some various just sort of shows where I talk about different topics and of course, as mentioned, about being a millennial. And I had started this show with Garrett Wagner from C3 Evolution Group called The Millennial Mind. And we did a lot of discussion on how to sort of evolve the accounting profession. And naturally, out of that sort of connection, we said, this should expand beyond just for millennials and beyond just advising older generations about millennials and letting millennials know that they're understood. And sort of the profession as a whole needs to change. And so we basically decided, well, what better time then, as everything is going digital, everything is virtual, everything's remote. The viewership of magazines is going down, subscriptions are going down. What can we do to sort of bring the profession forward? People are stuck with these boring sort of skills that are very technical based, and they need to gain the soft skills like having good client relations and knowing how to communicate effectively. These are things that accountants typically aren't, considered to be experts in because, they just know how to do the books, or they know how to do taxes, or they know how to audit. So the purpose is really video focused content, because video is the content of the future. Make it more engaging, make it entertaining, and provide insights that aren't just FASB updates, aren't just tax code updates. It's the skills that you need so that your job doesn't get taken over by a robot. And so that's really the mission there. It's innovative content of the future for CPAs, accountants, and finance professionals.
Yeah, and I've actually said a number of occasions that if your job is completely taken over by a robot, your job pretty much sucks anyway. Yeah. So it's really boring if that's all you do. So tell me a little bit about what's maybe some of the subjects for some of the videos that you're launching early on.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff, there's going to be two types of contents. And again, we want to try to build it so that you can get CPE credit for it, because everybody wants it and everybody knows it's boring. So rather than having this once a year, crunch time overload of getting all the CPE content, can you get it paced out at your own pace over the course of the year and gain skills? So we have, problem solving, how to be a better motivator, how to be a better team leader, project management, things like Lean Six Sigma skills is one. Generational differences. I'll be doing a lot on millennials, and I'll be holding my Millennial Mind show. And then other things like blockchain and Bitcoin, things that you've heard of, you're kind of aware of, but you need a little more in-depth knowledge of. So that's kind of like the different areas where, how do you evolve an advisory firm into the future? How do you better communicate with employees? How do you create a better work environment? How do you adapt to remote working? These are the types of things that are very valuable, useful, and immediately applicable that we're all aware of, but nobody's putting the content out for it at this point. And I'm still going to be it's important to know, I'm still going to be making the rap songs and music videos, because again, we want to have that fun dynamic and part of it as well.
Sure. And one of the things I know that, for example, in Maryland, they've passed this ability to do micro CPE, so in fractions of an hour. Is that something you guys are looking at doing? So more bite-sized, digestible pieces of content?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's one of the elements that we would hope to be able to build into. And in the meantime, our goal is that we'll be able to make these longer segments digestible in modules. So you could watch a 10-minute clip each day. Now, granted, you're not going to get, the 0.2 of a credit per day, but after 5 days of watching these 10-minute videos, you now have one. So it does essentially the same purpose, because I don't think 0.2 of a credit's going to make or break anybody, but it's definitely something that, as the rest of the states, embrace and start to accept that, we'll be able to really dive into that even more so.
Sure. Well, Drew, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours, and why are they a hero?
So I would say my hero is Leonardo da Vinci. And the reason being so is that I feel very relatable to him and who he was and the type of groundbreaking stuff that he was doing back in his day. I'm a multi-potentialite, or as some people say, a modern day polymath, which is what Leonardo da Vinci was. I can write, I can draw, I can sing, I can rap. I also have the business aspect, the entrepreneur, creative and professional at the same time. That's who I've embraced. And many people will say, well, Drew, that's called having a multiple personality disorder. But no, that's who I am. I have passions and interests in all different areas, kind of this jack of all trades thing. And someone like Leonardo da Vinci, who made such an impact on the overall history of the world and human civilization, I would like to emulate that if possible via connecting all these different passion areas that I have.
And lastly, Drew, how can somebody contact you?
So anybody can contact me at The Rapping CPA on any social media platform. I have at The Rapping CPA on Instagram, on Twitter. It's The Rapping CPA is my slash if you go on LinkedIn. So definitely feel free to connect with me there. And I'm pretty responsive to any DMs that I get. It's not creepy if you slide into my DMs.
All right. Drew Carrick, The Rapping CPA, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Advice Podcast.
Thank you.
For more Sage Advice, visit and subscribe at sageadvicepodcast.com.